Welcome to Mystara for a visit to one of the most wonder-filled locations in all of Dungeons & Dragons, the City of Immortals, located on the visible moon of Pandius. Here you can visit every single Immortal, as every one of them has an estate found in this refuge from the mundane. This is the place where Immortals meet, discuss business, handle disputes, and forge new alliances with no worries about permanent harm. The city is populated by the minions of the Immortals, who run errands, deliver messages, and complain about their bosses when off duty. Here, the universe's rules are updated constantly, black-clad knights don't automatically hunt down extraplanar visitors, and gods can only watch everybody having fun without them. I'm Mr. Welch, and take me down to the Paradise City. The City of Immortals was only detailed in Wrath of the Immortals, as the Immortals box set was mainly setting neutral. While most believe it's located on the moon of Pandius, that's only partially true. The city occupies a pocket dimension that exists partially in the known world, allowing the Immortals to look down upon the planet below. You can't enter the city from the moon, even if you could somehow survive there. The city isn't visible from the outside or even tangible. You could walk through the city's exact location and not feel anything. You must enter the city from the available portals or use powerful magic like plane shift. The city itself is circular, with the large golden dome located dead center, surrounded by the domes of the spheres, and then the estates of the Immortals taking up all the available space after that. The city doesn't have a set size. If a building is needed, the Immortals expand the city a bit more and rearrange the estates if necessary. Creating new worlds is a fundamental ability of even the newest Immortals, so adding a half-mile in diameter to a pocket dimension isn't a significant power expenditure. The Great Dome, for lack of a better term, is the capital of Pandius. Here's where the Immortals meet to negotiate agreements, dispense justice, and decide on future plans for Mystara. It is neutral ground for all creatures, so no violence is allowed, and the 5 hierarchs enforce this. All the major councils have a conference room devoted to their use. There's even an observatory where minor Immortals have to watch Mystara for any breaches of the barrier or other threats to the world. Underneath the dome are a series of prison cells for prisoners about to be sentenced and an artifact known as the Altar of Diminishment. This is one of the most feared artifacts in existence, as it can strip the divinity of an Immortal or at least reduce them in power. Nobody knows if it works on gods, but the difficulty of moving the altar and the prohibition on gods past the Great Barrier makes this a hypothetical question. Surrounding the Great Dome are the Domes of the Spheres, which are restricted to each of the 5 spheres of power. These are exclusive to their members. An Immortal of energy can't enter the Dome of Matter. Here the spheres can meet in private and discuss how to increase the influence and reach of their temples, churches, and clerics worldwide. Breaking into one of these domes by members or servants of another sphere is possible, but ill-advised due to the constant divination magic in place, and trespassers have a terrible habit of sticking out like a sore thumb. Surrounding the central complex is hundreds of Immortal estates. These are generally grouped according to spheres, but not always. There's no restrictions on who can visit except those put in place by the estate's owner. The grounds of these buildings are guarded and maintained by the various servant races of each Immortal. As a general rule, members of pantheons tend to be located near each other. Wrath says that there is one estate for every Immortal listed and one for every Immortal not listed, plus a whole range of additional buildings. And then it just ends, stating that's run out of room to list them. That concludes this video, because that's everything to know about the City of Immortals, because they capped it due to a page count. Just 3 minutes of information. That blows. You've got a city that serves as the vacation spot for hundreds of deities, but there's not enough room to give even a cursory explanation. The only reason why they have the City of Immortals is because it's not their home plane. Killing an Immortal is pointless there. Nobody bothers. But you just can't leave it at that. Time to break out my toolkit. Instead of grabbing the welding machine this time, we're getting the spackle out. A lot of spackle. This video has enormous holes to fill, but don't worry, I am up to the task. When it comes to fixing Mystara, I'm good. No, wait, take that back. I'm very good. None of the rest of this is canon, but it is more interesting than saying, whoops, we ran out of room. Near what would be called the northern border of Pandios is a 2-story building just sitting there. This building, known as the Crossroads, serves as the official entry point into the City of the Immortals. It's a non-assuming building, just a single 2-story ordinary office without any fantastical elements that you would find in the estates of the various Immortals surrounding it. But inside, the building's interior is far larger than possible, and it shares rooms with similar buildings in other worlds, notably the Mystara Embassy in the city of Sigil. Tourists walk into a building in one world, pass through immigrations, and walk out into another world. It's staffed on all ends by servants of various Immortals in general, with the Knights of Ebony for a more familiar face, so people entering for the first time aren't face-to-face with an entropic horror working at the front desk. The street known as Divinity Row effectively serves as embassies for representatives of various outer planar powers. Here, celestials, fiends, and similar creatures representing the heavens, hells, gods, and planes of neutrality interact with their counterparts from the Immortals to prevent, mediate, or coordinate interplanar activities between Mystaran creatures and those outside the Great Barrier. Tensions are often high in these negotiations over the issue of Mystaran souls being reincarnated by Immortals instead of being sent to the heavens or hells like in other worlds. The Immortals refuse to budge an inch on this topic, which enrages the gods that the outer planar servants represent. The mutual disdain the types of deities have for each other have a habit of spilling over into most disputes and discussions. On the other hand, Mystaran relations with the elemental planes are often friendly and cooperative. The buildings on what is known as Primal Plaza represent various nation-states and organizations of the inner planes, including the quasi and para-elemental versions. The Elemmasters all have estates in the city of the Immortals, and the various genies, elementals, and genasi working at the embassies are usually servants of the respective Immortals. Of particular note is the embassy to the quasi-elemental plane of Vacuum, which has no known groups, regions, or anything physical for that matter. What it does have is a very opportunistic vacuum genasi known only as Abyss, who sells tours to her plane for a steep fee. She is the only person working in the embassy and is best known for her problem-solving skills. By problem-solving skills, I mean she dumps bodies in the plane of Vacuum never to be seen again for a price. The Garden of Vitriolic Harmony serves as the unofficial embassy for the archfey. Outside, it's a small park the size of a city block, bordered by well-trimmed hedges and cobblestone walkways for visitors. Inside, the park goes on for what seems to be an eternity, as it's almost another plane of existence. All manner of fey creatures are found in the garden, gleefully playing with anyone who enters, whether they want to be played with or not. The ultimate goal in the garden is to reach the quaint house visible from the outside. However, the garden path twists and turns. Trees and ponds block any direct route. If you have an appointment, you will find the path to the house exactly when you need to arrive. The fey creature you meet will seemingly be random. Sometimes it's a powerful one like a she-lord or a Forwin Odrin. Other times it's a minor one like a brownie. It all depends on how important you are to the goodly kingdom. Many buildings are devoted to the arts in the City of Immortals, often created by immortal patrons such as Alphatia. The Soundasium is a large music hall with perfect acoustics no matter where you are. Musicians and singers across the multiverse entertain the Immortals, though the performances might not be for mortal tastes. Often the music is outside the hearing range of mortals, or for chaotic Immortals it's just a cacophony that makes only sense to them. Elementals of pure sound put on elaborate operas that last for months. Lightning elementals create thunderous ballads of such intensity and volume that it would shatter a mortal's bones. Attendance for these performances could be a packed house filled with every manner of creature imaginable, or just a single immortal. The Soundasium patrons care little for the piece's popularity, as long as the music never stops. For the artistic types, there's the Spectacle of the Spheres. This grand building is the most extensive art gallery in Mystara and possibly the largest in the multiverse, depending on the current number of exhibits. It's also sponsored by many immortals, mainly the Sphere of Time, though any immortal of any artistic bent is welcome. Here are constructs made into the form of moving paints telling the tales of locations and people long lost. Multidimensional sculptures are common, some of which will drive mortals insane trying to comprehend the reality of what they're seeing. The immortal Talitha famously put on the largest exhibition in its history. The gallery's interior had to be expanded to fill all of the displays and drew in art aficionados from across the multiverse. Only hours into the gala, somebody realized that every piece of art in the show was stolen. Talitha was not showing off her artistic side, but bragging about her felonious acquisitions. Next to the Spectacle of the Spheres is an equal grandiose piece of architecture, Neath Hall, the fivefold reliquary. This is the Museum of Pandius, housing artifacts not just from Mystara, but other worlds and planes of existence. And I do mean artifacts. Some exhibits can destroy worlds, some already have. Security here is designed to thwart immortals, hence the term fivefold in its name. Powerful immortal-level spells ward each exhibit, one ward from each of the spheres, and none of the casters know of the other wards that were already cast. Anyone can gaze upon Soul Render, the sword responsible for multiple genocides. There's the Periapt of Positive Energy, a gem so beneficial that the nation that created it started running out of living space because no one in their nation was dying. And it takes acts of legendary willpower to break your gaze away from the legendary Bluestone of Galveston. Just because stealing one of the artifacts is generally considered suicide, and the janitorial staff has more than once had to mop somebody off the walls, doesn't mean people don't try. The immortal Raven has gotten past 3 wards on one of the more mundane displays just to say he did it. Then the janitorial staff had to mop his avatar's form off the walls. Immortals have a distrust of powerful outsiders that borders on animosity. The older immortals remember stories of the Dawn War and the devastation that required the creation of the Great Barrier to keep out the genocidal gods. While immortals as deities have to interact with the gods of other settings, by no means do they trust them. This has led to the creation of the Orrery of Worlds, a collection of lenses attached to fast-moving machineries that allow the users to align them in a particular configuration. Then the immortals and their servants can scry on any world across dimensions. The orrery's use is restricted only to the immortals and a select few of their servants. The Knights of Ebony are often tasked to track criminal suspects, while individual servitors use it to spy on the servants of the gods. Gods can stop it from spying on specific areas if they know surveillance is happening. But if Etienne needs to see if powerful adventurers in the Forgotten Realms were planning on raiding his home, he could just tune the orrery of the realms to discover what they are up to. What am I watching? What is this? What by all that is holy is going on in the Forgotten Realms? What the fuck? Although immortals and gods as a whole get on like feuding neighbors, they still have to be civil with each other for the sake of the multiverse. Hence all the embassies. But while immortals might think the Raven Queen is a stuck-up power-mad despot, they don't hold the same disgust for her followers. This leads to one of the biggest problems with the City of the Immortals. There's no place to put visitors. The ones that get invitations from immortals stay at their estates. The embassy staff has their own facilities. But where do you put a Jin Pasha and his massive entourage who wants to hear the tornadic tunes of the F5 orchestra? Enter the Omnipresence. This multi-story hotel is run by an enigmatic creature known only as Friend. Friend has no set appearance. It appears as an idealized member of whatever species is viewing it. It can communicate with all known life forms. It has a veneer of politeness that is never shaken. The rooms of the Omnipresence change to support any form of life in any environment. Creatures from the plane of water will find their lodgings in an idealistic aquatic setting, while a room hosting demonic creatures will resemble the worst parts of the Book of Revelation. The price to stay in the Omnipresence is exorbitant, since precious metals are worthless in a city where the ruling class can fabricate them out of thin air. Instead, all payment is done in magic items, specifically 5,000 gold pieces worth of magic items a night, paid in advance. But your every whim is catered to, and the chefs in their kitchen can cook any meal requested, even some of the more questionable ones. The Preserve of All Worlds is a private zoo managed by the followers of Ka. While he's the patron, other immortals have helped stock this collection of endangered creatures. The difference between the Preserve and Ka's other popular locations for doomed species and civilizations is that none of the exhibits here are from Mystara. Instead, they come from other planes, worlds, and dimensions. Ka tries to save as much wildlife as possible when a world begins to die out for whatever reason. He can't put them on the Prime Plane because of the threat to them, so he maintains their numbers nearby so he can watch over them personally. He tries to keep the animals separate to avoid conflicts between non-native species, and by rule, all creatures kept here are non-sentient. This has caused problems in the past when a non-communicative race was accidentally classified as a beast, but those were sorted out and relocated to a new home as fast as possible. Like so much in the city, the preserve is bigger on the inside, with hundreds of miles across a small sea in the middle for aquatic species. Visitors are only allowed with permission, and the cost of entry is steep, but it's still one of the most popular attractions in the city. You wouldn't think that a plain building known as the Depository of Knowledge would be the most prestigious libraries in the multiverse. Still, it was the only name the various immortals who share the knowledge domain could agree on. Mystara and immortals love the knowledge domain, especially the sphere of thought. 21 immortals are included in that domain, making it one of the most popular. It made sense that the immortals should pool their experiences and discoveries so that the knowledge would never be lost. The library itself is, again, plain and boring compared to the building surrounding it. Just a square, multi-story building with little decoration. The reason for that is most of the library is underground. There's only so many stories that can be added before the library reaches the top of the dome, so when a new wing is needed, the immortals add another level to the basement. The simple shape of the building makes the process easy. Librarian golems know precisely where every book, scroll, and similar is kept, and the material is kept in the order that it was submitted. With all the discoveries by the Sphere of Time, most materials are in no particular order. Anyone is welcome to visit the library, but no materials can leave. Anything taken out without permission is magically returned to its location if somebody tries to leave with it. The librarians can easily keep dangerous information from unauthorized hands, as finding a particular book without their help is impossible. Officially, the drinking hall, just known as the Grumble, is neutral ground. Unofficially, it's sacred ground. A small, unadorned building near the Grand Hall, it serves as the primary gathering place for all the servants, employees, and bureaucrats that keep the city running. The Grumble has 3 rules: no immortals, no outsiders, and no politics. This bar is for those who live and work in the City of Immortals. It has a strange magic that changes the proportions so that everyone and everything seems normal size from the perspective of each patron. To a halfling, everyone is short. To a giant, everyone is tall. While the no politics rules is designed to keep servants of rival powers from initiating fights, it's mainly unnecessary. Instead, everybody is here for 2 purposes: to get drunk and to complain about their boss. Every alcoholic beverage known and unknown is available here. It even has over 100 flavors of pina colada for celestials from the outer plane or embassies. You can listen in on creatures that should generally be fighting each other in some eternal war on another plane, while they compare horror stories about trying to find the perfect shade of beige on the plane of limbo for some immortal's tea party, versus being tasked to politely ask the archfey Duke of Young Adult Fiction and Grisly Deaths to put his pants back on. The barflies here don't have to be reminded not to cause problems. They wouldn't even conceive of that. This is the single place they can talk freely with the only other creatures that understand their plight. While Mystara, the planet, is mainly hostile to outsiders, the City of Immortals gets somewhat regular vacation visitors. One of the most popular tourist attractions is the Gallery of Divinity, the closest thing the city has to a shopping center. Here is shop after shop of the most sought-after items for the power players of the various planes. Drinks made from the purest water of the elemental planes. Diamonds mined from the heart of a dying star. Clothing sewn from the deepest thoughts. All of it can be found here, though the price is often beyond mortal reckoning. Magic items are the usual currency, but some of the more expensive items have cost entire planets. Servants from gods, archfiends, and primordials here are the regular customer, as immortals can have anything here brought to their estate, and the servants that run the city can't even afford to window shop at most of the stores. The one place you never want to be in the City of Immortals is simply known as the Oubliette. Unlike the holding cells in the Grand Dome, this hole in the ground is where creatures too powerful to kill and too dangerous to run free are kept. It is maintained by the spheres of matter and entropy, with cells formed by the living energy fields known as Baka, holding indescribable horrors. Entropy creates appropriate punishments, and matter keeps the prisoners from escaping. How many creatures are kept here is unknown, or even what kind of creature. Known prisoners include a planetar that tried to manifest and spread the word of the gods, a pit fiend that was stalking the city of Limbo, feasting on the souls of the recently dead, and a small girl whose birth prophecy in Yavdalin caused 100 seers to go mad and commit suicide. There is no getting out of the Oubliette. No one likes to talk about it, and most citizens act like it doesn't exist. One of the most popular locations for tourists, servants, and even the Immortals is the Grand Arena. This magnificent building is paralleled in several other planes, where Immortals gather for sports of all sorts. The games are much like mortal games, only a larger scale. Things like bowling with moons, racing through a debris field over a lake of lava, or dodgeball with a black sphere. This is one of the few activities Immortals participate in when they let lesser creatures observe them, and when an event is held, the stands are packed across the cosmos. That concludes City of the Immortals. Hopefully that fills in many holes left by the hard page count. Next up is a look at Immortals who cheated their way into a divinity and how they did it. Everybody knows about the Radiants, but what about the extraplanar Immortals or the Blackmoor Immortals who suddenly found themselves divine? But until then, oh, won't you please take me home?